typical advice for dogs with any kind of like noise sensitivity is desensitization, which basically means that you play the noise in the background at such a low volume that they're not responding to it, and over time you turn up the volume of their recording. So a lot of people recommend YouTube videos, for example, and this is how we desensitized Vigo to things like thunderstorms and fireworks. And I don't know if that is what did it, but he doesn't, so far that we've seen, have any nervousness or fears around fireworks or thunderstorms. So I'll take that as a win. That said, for some reason, I can play traffic noises until the cows come home on the TV and Vigo does not react. We cannot replicate the fear that he gets from an actual truck when it's on the TV. The second reason why this doesn't work, like let's say that we were, and this is something that I tried a few weeks ago, let's say that I was to say, okay, every time a truck drives by, I'm gonna give him some food. The reason why that doesn't work is because his phobia is so advanced, he shuts down. So when I say he shuts down, what I mean is that he will not take food. He tries to hide. I opened a closet, he tried to get in the closet to hide. My understanding, and again, I'm not a dog expert, this is just from the research that I've done, is there's something called the threshold. And if you go over threshold with your dog, training doesn't work. And we're at a point where, especially on Fridays, Vigo is so over threshold that no matter how much we want to try and hype him up and be happy and give him food, he's not having it. He's not open to training. The good news is that we have found something that I think has been replicating that fear in him, so I'll talk through that. But before I get into that, let me talk through some other things that haven't really worked for us. The first is Dr. Amy Cook's noise party protocol, and this is not me being disparaging about that. I actually think her protocol is very good, but I wonder if it is better for dogs who are like barking at the door, for example, versus dogs who are so afraid that they're shutting down, like how Vigo is. There's a truck going by right now, and Vigo's at my feet shaking. So look, I'll show you. Should we get some chicken? Should we get some chicken? You love chicken. Oh, look, chicken, chicken. Look, get it, get it, get it. He doesn't want food. He won't take food. It's almost like he feels like he's in shark-infested water, and I'm trying to give him a snack. He does not want a snack right now. That's actually a great example in real time of how he gets when the trucks drive by. Coming back to Dr. Amy Cook's protocol, I actually think it would work in other situations. I think for us, it's been hard, first of all, because he shuts down so much when the trucks are driving by, but also because we're not in control of the trucks. So if it was something like, I know someone said their dog has a fear of vacuums, for example, the sound of vacuums, I could see it maybe working for something like that, where you are fully in control of every time your dog's exposed to a vacuum. We are so out of control of when Vigo is exposed to a truck because they just drive by randomly throughout the day. The other two things that we've tried are the happy hoodies. So these are like the little hoodies that go around their heads. We also tried the thunder shirt. Neither of those two things have worked for us. He continues to be terrified. So those are like the tools that we've tried that haven't worked for us. With this next phase of us being like, let's get on top of this times 100, I've been trying to find mentors that I can lean on to help us through this. So what that looks like is, first of all, I wrote to my breeder. I'll be really honest, it is kind of a shame to say this because I think breeders can be such a great resource. I think our breeder just has a very different approach to training and dog rearing than we do. And that's not to say that I'm right and that she's wrong. It's just very different. Her recommendation was basically put him on a slip lead and force him to walk around the block on garbage day until he's no longer afraid. So that's not something that I feel super comfortable doing. Also, that aside, I'm also pregnant, and I just don't love the idea of dragging Vigo around the block with a slip collar. It doesn't feel good to me to do that. The next thing that we're exploring is our vet. There's sometimes a correlation between noise phobia and pain. I found one study on this, but it only had like 20 dogs that took part in the study, so it was very small. But they found that sometimes dogs who were in pain, the pain was kind of like linked to the noise phobia, and so the phobia was manifesting as a symptom of the pain. And so by treating the pain, you're able to treat the phobia. And for me, that would be my dream scenario, that Vigo's just in pain and we can get it under control. The thing is, having dove into this a little bit deeper, it seems to be, which makes sense, older dogs who tend to have this sudden onset of noise phobia that's linked to pain, at least like 4 years old. Vigo's not even a year old. So I think it's unlikely to be pain. That said, I still want to rule it out. And I'd even consider I think it's called a pain trial, where basically what they do is they put your dog on pain meds for like 2 to 3 weeks. And if the phobia persists, then you know that it's not that your dog's in pain, it's a genuine phobia. The last thing that we're doing is tapping into trainers. So I'm really fortunate that I know a lot of amazing trainers on TikTok, but I've also reached out to one in person in Miami who I've worked with before, who has said that she has worked through this issue in the past. In the meantime of having that in-person appointment, which is next week, that was the earliest they could do, I've reached out to a few of my dog trainer friends, and not just dog trainer friends, but also people in the dog world on TikTok who I respect. So like Wild Water Tollers is another toller breeder who I think is more aligned with my approach to dog rearing. I reached out to Lorna from Complete Canine Training, and I'm also going to be sending my plan to Sam Snell, who is another trainer who I really like, just to tap into their expertise and say, this is what I'm planning on doing so far. Does this sound like a good approach to you? And so far, the feedback for our approach in the interim has been positive. So moving on to our current plan, from a starting point, I want to make sure that I am getting rid of any excess energy in Vigo every day. Every morning, I want to take him out for like a 1 hour walk just to get rid of that excess energy so he doesn't have that spare energy like lingering to feel too afraid. I'm exploring heavier duty dog earmuffs. So I'm looking into companies that make earmuffs for dogs that are like in zones where explosions are happening or shooting is going on to protect their ears. I've read good things about that on Reddit from people who've gone through this. And again, this is why I'm so interested in speaking to people who have actually gone through this, because I think they have a very unique, valuable take versus someone who's like, oh, just throw treats every time they hear a noise, because as you can see, that's not going to work for us. Right now, annoyingly, we don't have a TV. When we get the TV in the living room, I'll be putting the TV on and playing some music for him just to kind of drown out the sound a little bit. In the meantime, we do have a TV in our bedroom, so I'm going to be putting the bedroom TV on and creating like a den of safe space for him. And then the last thing that I will say is that I know that I mentioned the YouTube videos haven't been working for us. What has worked for us has been last week I recorded on my phone a sound of the trucks going by, and I was able to replicate his fear with that recording on my phone. And so what I've done is I took that video and I played it at the lowest volume on my phone, and Vigo panicked. So I waited a little bit, I let him settle down. I created a duplicate of that video at 5% of the volume of the original video. I played that on my phone at the lowest volume on my phone. He panicked again. So I now have a video that I've created that is 1% of the volume of that original video, and I'm basically working from there to try and play it in the background, get him more used to the sounds. But again, I'm doing what I can. The difficulty is that we then have instances where the trucks just drive by, and I feel like that damages the training slightly, because ideally I think we would be able to get this under control and then expose him to the higher volume levels. Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. That's our plan. As I said, I'm going to be making this into a series and sharing how everything's going over time. So yeah, watch this space. It's gonna work. We're gonna do it. He'll get there. We're just in that messy middle right now. And as always, if you want to continue following our journey of this kind of sound phobia, give us a follow. So yeah, that's where we're at.